The man in charge of the College Football Playoff Committee, the University of Michigan athletic director, Ward Manuel, will be joining us at about 10 minutes' time. And he did say to ESPN after the final bracket was put out before Conference Championship Weekend that nobody participating in Conference Championship Weekend would be penalized by the loss or participating in it at all that are already in. And to his word, SMU made it. Yep. And it knocked Alabama out. Alabama was in, and when SMU lost to Clemson, making sure that Clemson had to be in this Final 12, that was the decision essentially is, do you keep SMU in? Because they were in a bye week spot. And if you're going to say you're not supposed to be penalized by participating in the Conference Championship Weekend, you're going to knock SMU out and keep Alabama in when they didn't do anything except sit on their campus? Yeah. And so they kept SMU in and knocked Alabama out. And by putting SMU in, that upgraded Indiana to the 10th spot. And Notre Dame got downgraded to 7 when Texas and Penn State lost their conference championships. They were now 5 and 6. And that put Notre Dame down to 7, and Indiana got upgraded to 10. And there's that matchup that I said I wanted to see. I wanted to see.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's great.
Indiana at Notre
Battle
Dame.
Of Indiana.
So I think
for the
that's
Battle of Indiana.
Friday night game. There's one Friday and 3.
Well, I don't know what.
I think that is.
And so that's going to be absolutely lit.
Oh, that game's going to be amazing.
Lit. And, I mentioned that possibility to Marcus Freeman.
You're right, Mike. Yep. That is the Friday game.
Yeah, that's the Friday night game. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be the first college football playoff game.
It's going to be amazing.
And so
Friday the 20th.
Under the lights in Notre Dame. And we mentioned that to Marcus Freeman last week as a possibility. He said he wanted to use the home field advantage for a team that wasn't used to cold weather. Well, Kurt Cignetti's bringing Indiana into Notre Dame. Please put it back up again if you don't mind. Just breaking it all down. The 4 seeds are Oregon, winner of the Big Ten. Georgia, which beat Texas in overtime in an exhilarating SEC championship game. Boise State took care of UNLV on Friday night. They're the 3 seed, and Arizona State is 4. They went from 12 up to 4. Clemson went from out to 12 after beating SMU in the Big 12 the ACC championship game. And look at that. What an incredible first foray into the Big 10 and the Big 12 for Oregon and Arizona State. Let me just say this. Oregon and Arizona State winning the Big 10 and Big 12 respectively in their first years to make up half the first ever bye-week quartet field in the first ever 12-team college football playoffs is the most Pac-12 thing ever. Ever. Pac-12 dissolves. Oregon goes to the Big Ten and wins it. Arizona State goes to the Big 12 and wins it. And the Pac-12 is sitting at where, disintegrated in the dustbin of history. Oh. Most Pac-12 thing ever. And then, Ohio State fans are complaining because that's what they do. Because they have a tough opponent in Tennessee and Penn State, which Ohio State beat. Penn State has a home game against SMU, and if they win it, they take on Boise State, while Ohio State's got a much tougher week 1 opponent in Tennessee, arguably. And if they win, they got to take on Oregon. And all I have to say is that, 2 cents, just to be as blunt as possible, if you want an easier path, okay, if you want to have a lesser, in your mind, opponent come into your house, don't step on your Scarlett and Gray Johnson. in front of the entire college football universe against a 5-loss Michigan team. Don't do it. Go to the Big Ten championship game and play Oregon there. And if you think you could have won that, well, beat Tennessee and you got your shot. That's all.
Yeah,
I can't put it any more blunt than that. Penn State went to the Big Ten championship game thanks to you stepping on your scarlet and gray Johnson and came within a touchdown of Oregon in the final score. So maybe that's why they get that path, even though they lost to Ohio State in the regular season. Ward Manuel coming up to talk about it. So that's my assessment.
Yeah, reports have Carson Beck having a UCL injury to his right throwing elbow.
So it wasn't one of those things where it was just stunned for the day and he gets his feeling back. So
there hasn't been anything official, but that's kind of being the rumor mill right now, which means it'd be Gunnar Stockton's show.
Well, I mean, that kid performed very well in a tough spot. And how about that game going to overtime, and the first snap of overtime is taken by Arch Manning for Texas?
Yeah.
I thought, is he going to play the overtime? Are we seeing a Tua moment here?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Quinn Ewers came back out.
And then Gunnar gets blown up on the run, no targeting call, and then Beck with his arm hanging.
Right.
Takes the final snap on the handoff.
And the winner of Indiana-Notre Dame plays Georgia, doesn't visit. Yep. And winner of Clemson-Texas takes on Arizona State. And if Clemson beats Texas, then Texas could just excommunicate Quinn Ewers to Syracuse, because that's what all Ohio State quarterbacks do, right? After they lose.
We'll take them.
I can't tell you how I just love to continue to dine out on all of this. And hey, Buckeye fans, feel free to have your team actually win these games and shut folks like me up. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.